Good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Muller here. Great to have you here with me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. We have a lot to talk about. That exiting snowstorm in the Northeast on Monday morning, as well as a new storm. We actually have two major storms this week as we head through especially Tuesday and into Wednesday, and another storm next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that could be spreading blizzard conditions, severe weather, and all kinds of major wind damage with both of these systems. We're going to watch and see which areas could these storms actually be almost identical to each other. We're going to take a look at that possibility, as well as, and towards the center part of January, we could have a piece of the Polar Vortex break off and send all of Canada, if not much of the United States, into a massive Arctic plunge right around the middle of January. Let's get into it. All right, so starting off with the European model here, we're going to be taking a look at our next system. So we do have that departing system in the Northeast. That's going to be heading across. So you can see, let me just back it up there. There it is. Across eastern New England. That's going to be pulling out additional accumulations. I'll go over those momentarily, but this is our next system we're going to be talking about. And this thing is going to pack quite a punch as we go out in time here. Take a look at this. This moves to the east pretty fast. This is 4 p.m. on Monday afternoon. You can see we're already looking at some big time strong to severe thunderstorms, a massive blizzard it looks like forming on the northwest side of this system as well in the colder air. But this thing's going to rapidly intensify. It's going to be spreading some very strong winds to the east too. You can see New Orleans, this is 1 a.m. on Tuesday morning. We're going to be looking at some big time severe weather, and watch this as we continue throughout Tuesday. I am very concerned about a massive severe weather outbreak here across much of the Gulf Coast southeast areas. And then to the northwest here, we're going to be looking at a full-blown blizzard conditions in some of these areas, especially this region right here. So keep an eye on this region. We could be looking at blizzard conditions. Right in between, we'll start off as a mixture of snow throughout the Ohio Valley into the Northeast and quickly change to rain. Now look at, there's going to be a squall line developing pretty much along the spine of the Appalachians. If we get a timestamp on this is 1 p.m. on the 9th. So this is Tuesday afternoon. So this system is 986 millibar low just south of Chicago. You know this system is going to pack a punch. Strong winds making it all the way up here into parts of the Northeast, all the way down to South Florida. You can see this system 980 millibars just east of Detroit. This is a big time system. I think we could have some convection all the way up here into eastern Pennsylvania and eastern New York. So that could bring some of these 50 and 60 mile per hour winds all the way up into New York City and Boston as we head throughout 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. You can see the system 976 millibars across southern Ontario here. So this is going to contain some very strong winds, a lot of heavy rain as well on top of those areas that already saw heavy snow over the weekend. Now that system departs up into the Canadian Maritimes. You see Quebec here continuing to get some strong winds. Now what's going to happen here as we head towards next weekend? Let's take a look. We have a piece of energy here across the panhandle of Texas ejecting from the Four Corners region. It seems like we're just manufacturing these low pressure systems. This one following a similar storm track just a bit to the south and the east here on the European run. And as you can see, as we head towards say the 12th, this is getting into Friday here, 984 millibar low. We could be looking at a period of snow right out ahead of it here. We got some colder air that's locked in place. So that's something we're going to have to keep a very close eye on here. Is there going to be any secondary low development? It doesn't look like it here on the European model. This remains the primary low. It looks like exactly a broken record here, 980 millibars. Yeah, that, you know, if the low pressure tracks up towards, say, north of the Ohio Valley here, you know this is eventually going to result in the warm air winning out. So that means rainfall here across the mid-Atlantic and parts of the Northeast, and heavy snow for Southeast Canada here. Now look at that. That low continues to intensify throughout next weekend into the 14th of January, pushing all the way up into the Canadian Maritimes once again. And look at this. We just start the process all over again on the 15th with another low ejecting from the Four Corners region. All right, so as we start off here with our GFS, we got our precipitation depiction on here, and as you can see, the low pressure taking shape here across the southern plains. I just want to make note, there is the system in the Northeast exiting for Sunday night into early Monday, continuing heavy snow throughout, the Sunday evening into Cape Cod, but that quickly moving out to sea. So our next system replacing it here across the midsection, you can see where that heavy snow, those blizzard conditions setting up here on the northern side. The severe weather threat is alive and well here Monday night into Tuesday across parts of the Gulf Coast. You can see blizzard conditions continuing up here into parts of the plains. And as we continue in time, you can see this low pressure heading right up the Mississippi and Ohio River valleys. That's going to start an onset of wet snow, especially on the northern end here. Actually, Chicago probably will stay all snow, but over here across parts of Ohio into Pennsylvania, New York, you'll start as wet snow, but quickly change to a heavy rain and wind. And I'll go over those wind speeds momentarily. You can see 1 p.m. Tuesday. There it is, interior parts of northern Pennsylvania and New York. You could start as a period of heavy wet snow, but look at that. I want to show you the squall line across the south. There's that blizzard condition on the west side, just west of Chicago as we head throughout 1 p.m. on Tuesday. But watch this squall line. There it is heading on into southern part of Alabama as we head 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Look how fast this squall line is going to move. Once this is on top of you, you're not going to have much time to prepare. This races across Florida all the way up into parts of the mid-Atlantic, maybe eastern Pennsylvania as well. Look how quickly we change over to rain here into the Northeast and Ohio Valley for your Tuesday. And that races up that convective line 1 a.m. into parts of southern New England as we head on into the 10th. So we're heading on into Wednesday morning here. So this system is going to be really moving fast. You can see the rain changing to snow here in parts of the Ohio Valley, maybe up to an inch or two. Some of those snow belt areas, 3 to 5 inches. But for the most part, this will be on the move all the way up into eastern Canada. Now, we're going to repeat this all over again. You can see it is showing up the same as it is on the European model, a little bit further to the south. So there is pretty good model agreement. There's a piece of energy, and there's another piece of energy racing out ahead of it. So this is going to come together a little bit further to the south. You can see there it is. Maybe a little bit less severe weather in parts of the south. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But look we're bringing the snowfall a little bit further south here. So that's pretty interesting. Wet snow on the northern fringes, but look at that for the Ohio Valley for the most part into the Northeast. This could be looking like another rain event as we head throughout the weekend, but I would watch areas just northwest of Cleveland into Detroit, Indianapolis. These areas, we could be looking at a full-blown blizzard here. So look at that, 976 millibars. Just a tad bit further to the south than this last system for Tuesday and Wednesday is. But look at that. Once again, I hate to say it for you people in the coastal areas of the Northeast, it's going to be another rain event especially, and this heads up into the Canadian Maritimes as a massive bomb, low-pressure system. And then look at that. This system looks a little bit further to the south as we head on the 15th into the 16th. This looks like a really interesting system that could actually spread snowfall into parts of the mid-south here. So this is something we're going to have to keep a close eye on. And will it head up the East Coast? Look at that for the 16th. I know this is pretty far out, but this is a trend we'll have to keep an eye on to see if this actually becomes a coastal low-pressure system. All right, so something we got to talk about with this system is the wind. This is going to be tremendous. You see, most of the wind with this system, the weekend system, is mostly offshore, which is great news. However, look what happens with our next system here. We're going to start seeing wind gusts well across the southeast here. Let's just back this up this is Tuesday morning. Look at these wind gusts approaching 50 miles per hour here across the southern plains and even parts of the southeast here, all the way up the Appalachians, 50 to 60 miles per hour here on average. So this is taking out a 6-hour maximum gusts, and I'm a little bit concerned. We also have some high wind watches already going into effect. I saw in parts of western New York here in anticipation of this. We get later Tuesday and Wednesday. Look at some of these wind gusts along the East Coast. This could be upwards of 50, 60 miles per hour, and goes all the way down into parts of Florida as well. So this is something we got to keep a very close watch on. Look at that. Something that we need to watch for very tremendous winds just off the coast. Some of these, if we get some sort of convective squall line as well, could contain some major issues here with wind speeds and, convective elements bringing those stronger winds to the surface. So this is going to be a big concern. And even behind it here, winds still remaining pretty gusty into Wednesday and Thursday. Now, zooming in here to the northeast, you can see wind speeds As we approach Tuesday here, this is where things start to go downhill. Tuesday afternoon and evening, you can see wind gusts across New York and Pennsylvania getting up into the 40s and lower 50s here. Lakeshore areas, yeah, approaching 60 miles per hour in some of these areas, and the ridge tops here of eastern West Virginia. Now, watch what starts to happen here. Yeah, this is very concerning. Early Wednesday morning, look what's overtaking the Northeast here. Coastal parts of New Jersey, 60 and potentially 70 mile an hour gusts. Now, these models tend to overdo a little bit the wind speeds, so probably take these down by 10 or 15, at least 10 or 15 miles per hour. But nevertheless, we're talking about strong wind speeds here. Look at this, even pushing to the east here as we head throughout Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon here. You can see behind the low pressure system, we'll have gusty northwest winds kicking in here. So this is a big concern as we head throughout later Tuesday and into Wednesday. So I wanted to go over severe weather for you as well, Monday afternoon through Tuesday here. Look at this. This is very, very concerning. An enhanced risk of severe weather across southeastern part of Louisiana, southern Mississippi, Alabama, and into the panhandle of Florida. This could be a major problem if we take a look at the tornado threat. That is what I'm concerned about from New Orleans all the way over to Tallahassee area here. We could be looking at this is up in the 10% hatched range here. This is very concerning. As we get into day 3 here, as we get into Tuesday and into Wednesday, this is where we'll be seeing it shift to the east, a slighter risk of severe thunderstorms, but nevertheless, all the way from North Carolina down through central Florida, this is a major problem. And if we take a look, you can't see the tornado probability, but I am concerned about tornadoes, especially coastal areas here southward into Florida. So if we take a look at Cape here, basically the food for severe thunderstorms, as we look throughout the day, Monday and into Tuesday night. Most concerned about early Tuesday morning across parts of southeastern Louisiana, southern part of Mississippi here. And then watch this. This is where we're getting into the 2,500 joules per kilogram here. And as we head throughout the early morning hours of Tuesday into Tuesday afternoon, that shifts east. I know this doesn't look like a tremendous amount of Cape, but this time of year, even about 1,500 joules per kilogram, we get into parts of the panhandle of Florida. Very concerned about tornado threat as well as damaging wind and large hail. And that continues to shift throughout the east Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. So liquid equivalent precipitation here, we're looking at the European model. Yeah, a lot of this in the east is tremendous amount of heavy rainfall. Initially will be snow. On the backside of the system, this will be snow, but it's going to be mostly rain. Those red zones, you're going to get upwards of 2.5, 3+ inches of rainfall. I am a bit concerned. Some areas will see a flooding concern, just on the east spine of the Appalachians on eastward here up towards New England as well. We're going to watch for this back. A lot of this back here could actually be heavy snow. Now, as we progress towards next weekend, that next storm, it just fires more precipitation on top of what we've already seen with our system earlier to the middle part of the week. So yeah, going to add more insult to injury here, another inch to an inch and a half of liquid equivalent. So as we take a look at total liquid equivalent precipitation here into the Northeast, there it is with our Sunday night, Monday system. There, look at this. So this is heading on into Monday night, Tuesday, and to Wednesday. This is our first shot of big time heavy. Most of this, initially will be snowfall, but quickly changing to rain. And then look at this. Big swath of 2 to 3 inches here into the reds. Very concerned about this. We'll continue to watch it here, especially where areas snow fell in interior parts of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast here. And then look at that as we head on into the weekend, liquid equivalent totals. We are getting into some big time amounts here, just piling on, especially on top of what we already saw. So let's just back that up for a minute. I wanted to show you Ohio averaging about 1.25 inches here, liquid equivalent Tuesday into Wednesday. And there it is again as we head throughout the weekend. We're just piling more liquid equivalent here. A lot of this back here towards the weekend will be in the form of that very heavy snow. So if we take a look at snowfall amounts here on the European model, additional snowfall accumulations are expected here into parts of New England and upstate New York. This will be pulling out Sunday night and early Monday morning. We'll see additional snowfall amounts. That's why the winter storm warnings continue. There's that next piece of energy coming out across the four corners. Look at some of the plain states here getting upwards of 6 to 12 inches of snow. That heads westward, maybe Chicago, places north of Detroit in particular. We will get some initial accumulations here into northern parts of Ohio. You can see Monday night and Tuesday, maybe a couple inches in northern Ohio and northwestern Pennsylvania there. And that's going to continue all the way up into southeast Canada here. You can see snowfall snowfall amounts up to 12 to 24 inches can be expected as well here. We're going to watch for that possibility. Now, as we head towards next weekend, yeah, that's going to add more snowfall, in particular to the areas that already just seen it from this system. You can see, look at this. Yeah, we're getting into some big time snowfall totals here as we approach, early next week. So looking at snowfall totals continuing here into parts of upstate eastern New York into New England. This just takes us through Monday in particular, and then I'll progress here. You can see, look at that, additional accumulations in these purple areas could be continuing into the warning criteria as 4 to as much as 8 inches of snowfall. Now, watch what happens as we head throughout this next storm. We get a quick couple inches from northern Ohio into northwestern Pennsylvania and then northward here, but that quickly changes over to rain Tuesday and into Wednesday for many of these areas. Now, as we get into the weekend, is this going to be a major snowstorm? Well, basically, if you're in the areas that saw the snowfall, it's going to be a big question from northern Ohio to western New York, northern New York, into northern New England. This is the big question mark area. I encourage you to stay tuned throughout the week. I'll have updates. Now, if you're northwest of, say, this line, it's looking like you're going to see a good chance of a very heavy snowstorm as we head into the next weekend. All right, so let's take a look at the GFS. Does it agree? Well, additional accumulations here of our rest of Sunday and Monday. Yeah, there it is. And then as you get into the Tuesday storm, GFS is a bit less here on the initial shot of snowfall, maybe still a couple inches from northern Ohio into northern New York, northern New England. But here is our weekend system. This is why I encourage you to stay tuned, because look at this. Yeah, Toledo, Ohio area, 20 to 30 inches of snow. Yeah, this could be a big deal. If you're northwest of, say, this line, it's going to be very, very interesting. And Derek Rentschler from Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. Take a look at this. He's getting some heavy snow across his region on Saturday here into Saturday night. It resulted in quite a bit of snow-covered roads. You can see here, look at the snow falling. Visibility is reduced. You can see it all there in the background there. And as you can see, he ended up with, there it is, just shy of 5 inches here on his ruler. That light, fluffy snow. Look at that. That is some good snow for snowman weather as well. That was right before the changeover to sleet, he said. And look what he was able to do, a snowman on the 7th here, Sunday, Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. Very nice snowman there. Nice captures there, Derek, of the snowstorm. First major snowstorm of the season. So for our polar vortex watch here, look at this. So this gives us a good idea where the polar vortex is set up. You can see it's way over here in parts of northern Europe and Asia here. So far, we haven't really seen any major cold air outbreaks, but as we head towards the middle of the month, you can see how it's starting to shift here towards eastern North America. You can see a little pieces of it trying to break off here throughout central and eastern part of North America, and that's where we're going to watch for the middle part of January here. See this darker blue area? We got to keep a close watch on this because this is where we could see the polar vortex try to swing south here. You see a little bit of evidence here towards the 17th of a piece of the polar vortex breaking off here. So that's what you want to look for if you want snowstorms and cold. You want the polar vortex to weaken just slightly, and that is what we could be heading towards until we get towards the end of the month. Then that starts to shift back towards northern Europe. All right, and look at what's going to be happening here. The polar part of the polar vortex looks to be breaking off right around, say, the 11th or 12th of January. You can see what's happening. Most of Canada, especially 3/4 of Canada, will be into a massive deep freeze here. This is going to be pushing towards the south, especially into the northern plains and Rockies of the U.S. here. Look how that blossoms into eastern part of Canada, too, which is going to promote those heavier snowfall totals as we go in time. But you can really start to see the surge by the 14th of January. Look at this big Arctic blast, this plunge going towards the south and east. Is this going to make it all the way to the east coast? Well, let's just continue. Look at this. Yeah, it looks like we do see pieces of it try to make it towards the east coast, at least into the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. But look at this. This is what I wanted to show you as we head towards the 3rd week of January. Look at this big plunge down into Texas. Most of the west looks like it's getting into a deep freeze too. Look at all of Canada, pretty much, except for maybe southwestern Canada here. where you're getting maybe a little bit of milder air. But look at this. This is the 17th, the morning of the 17th. Look at this. Most of the nation, except for the southeast, is holding on to some temperate conditions. So your tropical update here across the Caribbean, Gulf, and the rest of the Atlantic. Look what's going on here. Actually, we don't have a whole lot going on. That is some great news. The area of quietness. We do have a little bit of low pressure here towards Honduras and Belize, but for the most part, that will be a weak system. Now, look as we head towards, say, the 10th of January here. So as we're heading on into the mid part of the week towards Wednesday here, we could have some showers approaching Jamaica, the Cayman Islands here. We do have you can see this trough, this front kind of washing out here, stalling out across the Western Caribbean. And watch this. Towards the Lesser Antilles, as we get later on in the week, we might have some of these easterly trade winds bringing some showers here on a weak tropical wave, especially towards Trinidad and Tobago here. And as we continue in time, the northern Bahamas really getting some rainfall. As we get towards next weekend, you can see a wave of low pressure forming and heading to the northeast towards Bermuda. But for the most part, things are clearing out towards the middle of the month. We do have some cloudiness here and some scattered showers, but for the most part, we're looking pretty quiet. All right, so rainfall here across the Caribbean, well, it's just basically here into the eastern part of Gulf of Mexico, into the northern Bahamas, maybe upwards of, say, 8 to 16 millimeters here, nothing more than a ½ inch of liquid equivalent rain showers here. As we head throughout the rest of the week here, Jamaica towards Wednesday and Thursday could be getting upwards of 13 to 26 millimeters, getting up towards, say, 3/4 of an inch, ½ to 3/4 of an inch here. But, for the most part, we'll be mostly dry. Look at the island of Hispaniola, almost no rain here. Now, the coastline of Honduras, Nicaragua could see upwards of, say, 16 to 32 millimeters as well. We could be looking upwards of a ½ an inch here. Look at the northern Bahamas, though. Southern Bahamas look mostly dry for the most part. So the northern Bahamas, you'll get upwards of 60 to 90 millimeters, getting up towards 2.5 inches of rain. And as we get into the eastern Caribbean here, we do have a tropical wave that will be approaching from the east here as we head throughout Tuesday and Wednesday. The central and southern Lesser Antilles here, down to these southern areas. Trinidad, Tobago area. We could be looking at words of about 13 to as much as 32 millimeters here, anywhere from about, say, a ½ an inch on average here. But look at here, the southern Bahamas remaining pretty dry. Puerto Rico may see some showers as we get throughout next weekend. And look at that. We're just reinforcing some of these tropical waves could get a little bit strong here as we head throughout, the mid part of January. All right, so I wanted to touch on some Canadian weather here. I didn't want to leave you guys out up here. Always great to talk about your weather. So the big story is going to be as this system departs into the U.S. Northeast, you're going to be getting some heavy snow here into parts of Nova Scotia. So definitely watch out for that. As that pulls away on Tuesday here, high pressure builds into eastern Canada. We have the next system here out west plowing into parts of southwestern Canada here. That moves into a weak low pressure, almost like an Alberta type clipper system here across central Canada that weakens. There is our next system out here. Look at this. This is going to be primarily mostly, except for Toronto and London areas, mostly heavy snow. Ottawa areas, parts of southern Ontario here, getting up into lots of Quebec here. Montreal, these areas could probably see mostly a mixture with this as this system moves to the north and to the east. Now, as we look at this, Canada really starts to get into a quiet weather pattern initially here as we head throughout the 12th and the 13th. But look at eastern Canada, especially this system as we head to next week. Look at this. Even Toronto and London and all the way up to Ottawa and Montreal, you could be looking at a full-blown blizzard here, although that does change as we get into, say, later Saturday into Sunday next weekend. Look at the rainfall pushing up into parts of the St. Lawrence Valley, even northward here into Ottawa. It's going to be areas on the northwest side. London, you might stay actually all snow. Toronto as well. We'll have to keep an eye on that situation. Here over towards New Brunswick, northern New Brunswick, it will start out as snow, but quickly change to rain as this low pressure moves just here west. And look at Quebec. Most of Quebec getting some heavy snow here. Canadian Maritimes, it will be quite a mixture. A lot more wind continuing. And look at that. High pressure slowly building in behind it. We set ourselves up for a few Alberta-style clippers as we head towards, there it is, the middle of the month, right around the 17th. Do we have any large-scale systems as we head throughout the rest of your month here? Well, as we head towards the 20th, I think the big trend here is for eastern Canada, especially southeastern Canada, to get quite a bit in the way of snowfall here. And don't go anywhere, I just have more weather here in just a moment. Check out my affiliate here, these awesome maps. Have a look at this. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. And if we take a look at the temperature profiles here, we're starting off with Monday here. You can see the next surge of warm air here already making it into parts of the Ohio Valley, getting into the upper 30s here ahead of our next system that's going to be pushing out of the plains. Now you're going to watch this big area of cold temperatures. Watch how this pivots as we head throughout Tuesday, January 9th. Look at that behind the storm. Yeah, likely to get some blizzard conditions, but look at here, a big surge of 50s here across parts of the Ohio Valley into parts of the mid-Atlantic. That moves to the east coast here on Wednesday with that system. It's going to get very gusty. It's going to bring up some very warm temperatures, but look at falling temperatures into the 20s behind the system for Thursday. Look at Texas really staying very toasty warm here, 60s and even some lower 70s into parts of South Texas. But I want to draw your eyes to the northern plains and Rockies here. This is where we're going to start to see these single digits and even some temperatures below zero as we head throughout Thursday and into Friday. You can see what's building up here. That's part of the piece of the polar vortex breaking off. We'll have to see if this actually tries to slip south and east here as we head through next Saturday. Look at this next system. Yeah, it'll be pushing up towards the Ohio Valley. So yeah, some of this colder air, we could get some heavy snow on the backside of the storm. Extended outlook from hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. Take a look at this as we head throughout Monday, clearing. It will be mostly cloudy up towards the upper 40s, but then we get into Tuesday into Wednesday. This is where we'll get the snow initially at the onset, less than an inch, quickly changing to rain, turning very windy as well. And wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour. We'll get about an inch and a half of rain out of this entire system into Wednesday as well. That clears out for Thursday and Friday, but we'll look at another storm potentially for the weekend. As always, I want to thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also at Weather Northeastern, also at Hurricane Northeastern, and also at Susquehanna Weather. Also Twitter at Weather Eastern, and you can visit me at MeteoMark.com. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to check out my winter weather outlook for 2023-24 and link in the description down below, as well as my affiliate, Trilogy Maps.